Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Here's another section with each one teach one. Now, today I don't know how to explain this, but I find myself getting really deeply involved with something under normal circumstances. I wouldn't have been doing it. I don't know if I should say it's because of the need that humans will have whenever there's a crisis, that atmosphere of chaos that will cause one to start looking at problems from a different perspective. So overall, I'm looking at the situation of the lockdown, what I call the equalizer. This whole situation have made it possible for nation states to realize how dependent they are on one another. So with that being said, we on equal grounds agree that the globe is for all of us, and what we do, what each and every one of us does in every location on the planet will subsequently affect the next region or the other region. That's a given, it's a common ground, it's established. Now, moving forward, I hear a lot of people talk about technological revolution or any kind of revolution in Africa going on. I find myself leaning towards some of these side talks or some of this argument. However, I wouldn't like to say it's an argument or intimate myself with that being an argument. But what I would say is it's a budding part of human consciousness that we are recognizing as we pass through the times, difficult times, the chaos and all of that. It's time for people to reflect and say, what if I was somewhere else different where I wouldn't have to depend on another person for most of the decision or the way I live my life. And then these are some of the thoughts that come to one's mind. And I was thinking about it, and I was also looking at YouTube to see what people are thinking. So many are saying, oh yeah, Africa unite, Africa come together, Africa work together, globalization, da 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 da. And they are not looking at the most important things. You have to look at the paradigms. You have to look at the status quo. You have to look at what others before you have done. You have to look at what your predecessors have done or other nations that have been able to develop an area and refine the way they do things to gain the necessary status. So all these nations have something in common. Okay? They first started with cultural acceptance of who they are, what they practice, whatever that is, or their religion. All this goes hand in glove with acknowledging what is their religion or what their spirituality is. So you cannot have a technological revolution without having a cultural revolution or having a political revolution. You can't have that. So the way it goes is you have your culture to translate, which is a translation of what is above, quote unquote, religion into a culture that people can see. That's what it is. And now you have the political arm. Political arm of things are deeply rooted in a culture at the same time. The way people run their system or the way people run their society is rooted in the beginning of the way people do things. And now with that being said, you cannot have the political growth without the culture and your spirituals. So now the African spiritual is still undergoing development. So who acknowledges that? How can a people become a people without acknowledging their spiritual? Without acknowledging the way that they see things that are impossible for humans to see, whether by using a microscope or using the visual eyes. There are ways people have perceived the universe. Who determines that? What is the standard for Africans on that? So these are some of the stuff that I'm missing. So you are going through and you're looking at things from the lenses of another, then you can never be free, and at the same time you can hardly have any technological revolution or any revolution at all. I'm sorry to say that, but I like to attack problems and solve it and nip it on the bud. So Those are three things there we talked about: cultural acceptance, political or politics instead of political politics, and then African spiritual. That's what we talked about. However, all these three things affect technology. These three things that we mentioned affect technology. And without technology, you cannot rise above anything, because nobody will respect you if you don't have a body of knowledge that somebody had to depend on you to understand. Now, you are looking at yourself. The face you're looking at and the face that's looking at you is you. So the face that you're looking at and the face that is looking at you is you. So you're looking at the mirror. These are the pieces that are missing in your equation. See, you cannot amount to anything without technology. You have to own technology. And one of the ways that I've seen other nations do it is, or other nation states do it, is they have recognized the power of studying abroad, and that's where globalization comes in. So the Ghana is trying to do what they call returning to home. Okay, the year of return. That's globalization number one. That's just the beginning. It hasn't touched on all the other stuff that need to be refined and bring to par in order for the second phase of globalization to happen. Mobilization. That's the global mobilization number one. So the global mobilization number two is yet to come. That's after the culture, the politics, the African spiritual, and the technology has found a way forward to a point, maybe a starting point, initialization point. Then you have the second one, and that will definitely seal the whole process. So it's very important for us to recognize what is important here, not just talking and talking and talking. You have to do the groundwork. So very fortunate the Africans are global people. Thanks to slavery, they are already global. So the resources need to be tapped from all these regions where they are located, and the knowledge, ideas, and the manpower had to be channeled to a singular place where it could be highly resourceful, where it is needed. Absolutely. So today, most of us that live in the Western world know what's going on. There's no job right now with the chaos. The budget is all messed up because people don't know you're hiring somebody or you're not hiring somebody. What's the outcome with the COVID-19? So people are holding back. They're waiting. So who suffers the most? The minorities, because the people of the land had to be taken care of first. So the blacks find themselves in worst of all situations, and that only make you think, what can you do to change your situation, to change your lifestyle, to change your condition, to change what you know. Now before you got here that this place is supposed to be the best of the best from any part of the world, but now COVID hit it, and it's making you think twice about the whole thing. And now Africa is not as much affected than here. So that's sending a signal. It's telling us a story. Okay, it's people that can build a place. It's people that can change a place. Now the message that I'm sending out does not boycott anybody or anything. It's just an expression of what could be done to move forward. It's a direction in the positive, on a positive note. It's a direction given to the whites to take advantage of that. So I don't want you to look at it as something that is not. It's simply a message, a suggestion that I'm giving to all. Technology is a vital piece moving forward in the digital era, with the Africa and all that people talking about rising or not rising. You can't do nothing without technology. I'm so sorry to tell you the truth of the matter. And then this message is also for Akon, who pretty much understand what I'm talking about, in the sense that he's building a smart city. That's technology now. That will bring a lot of respect. So these are some of the stuff that I'm talking about. So, however, he needs to understand some of the stuff that are necessary to build things that will benefit his people without somebody else sabotaging the effort. Now, currently, Africa is doing copy and paste when it comes to technology, but I think they could do better. There are people out there who are trying to do the best they can. I believe Theory Zimuhan, I don't know the last name, he's with the Ames, I think, Next Einstein Project. He's from Benin Republic, I believe. I've seen him on YouTube. I see what he's doing, and he's doing a great work. I respect him, but nobody knows him. This guy is pushing for technology in Africa. Nobody knows it. Nobody has about them. There's not even an international body that recognizes the African people, what they're doing. You have to recognize yourself first before anybody else can recognize you. This is my little message coming out from Each One Teach One. I hope to talk to you guys again. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And share it everywhere so I can get my numbers up. I would like to stream on a regular basis so you guys can know some of the things that I'm thinking about. I will also like to stream other information and technology and some of the stuff that I've built. So I also wanted to propose to anyone who wants to collaborate in presenting and showcasing the technology that I built by people who are not Africans as well. So that way we can learn from each other and also promote technology that were built by people who are Africans by descent. So this is about technology and understanding how it applies to our lives, and also how we can learn from others and own our content and keep pushing without letting out. More so, the culture of copying and pasting is not right. We need to change that. We need to put our footprints in the technology that we build. We need to own that content so that we can help ourselves and help others. If you can't help yourself in your technology, always depending on somebody else to write a piece of code or build something so you can use, it's not fair. You need to engage and be a part of the action. This is another opportunity for Africans to own something. The digital era is here with us. Thank you guys again, and subscribe. This is Each One Teach One signing off. Take care.